New Balance has had a hard time breaking into the football boot industry, and it's partially their own fault because they've had some stinkers over the years. I've tried a lot of boots in the last decade, and honestly, some of the worst top-end boots I've worn ever have been from New Balance. However, in recent years, they've made some huge improvements, and I think what I have inside this box is arguably their greatest ever achievement in the brand new, or I should say refined, New Balance Furon V6 Plus, the updated version of the excellent Furon V6 Pro that basically features the exact same sole plate and stud pattern, but some changes or modifications, I should say, to the upper that really make it a very well-rounded product, all for $210. And it's a speed boot that comes out at a very interesting time because Nike with the Mercurial series has transitioned away from Flyknit. Adidas with the X line has transitioned away from more of a mesh-based, softer style upper. Puma obviously has the Ultra, but that's a very thin type material. So if you realistically want a speed boot with a softer sock-like sensation on your feet, this is arguably going to be your very best option, and I want to talk about why that is in today's video. We'll go over the details, what's changed from the V6 Pro, and of course take a look at how the boots fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire review. And if you're interested in a pair for yourself, you can click the first link down below, or you can click the little pop-up in the corner of the screen. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal retail price in either the regular or wide fit variations. If you guys do end up enjoying the video, it'd be great if you could leave a like. And I've also noticed that a lot of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. If that's you, it would mean a lot to me if you could hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when my next new video goes live. First things first, I'd like to thank New Balance for not following in the footsteps of brands like Puma and Adidas in their choice of name for this brand new version of the Furon, where Puma and Adidas like to just change the name at random without actually changing anything physically about the boots. New Balance have actually made some significant changes to the upper, but have recognized that this is still very much a 6th generation Furon, so it changes from V6 Pro to Furon 6 Plus, implying that there is something new, but it's not a complete redesign. I love the fact that they did that. On the topic of change, while the Furon 6 Plus uses all of the same technologies as the outgoing V6 Pro, it does see modifications to just about everything in regards to the upper, where the fit weave material now features a brand new hydro knit base, as well as a different concept in terms of how they've done the hydro skin on the surface. The lacing system has been modified, the knitted material underneath the lacing system has been changed up, the collar is different, the internal liner is arguably improved, and even the shape of the boot feels a little bit more refined this time around. So overall, there is no question that they have made some nice improvements coming from the already great Furon V6 Pro, which when you look at it, it does have a very similar style to it, but if you look at the knitted base, it's a completely different pattern, and I think you can even see how much thinner the new version is, which is noticeable on the ball, especially when you have one on each foot. The design changes to the fit weave upper are clearly highlighted here in neon yellow and orange, where the neon yellow is kind of the base. It's a very simple knitted pattern, as you can see when you get up close, and then all of the orange bits that are kind of made up of this Z shape, I guess that's the best way to describe it, positioned in kind of like a chevron pattern. It's very dense towards the toe, and then as you get closer and closer to the midfoot, it kind of tapers off and thins out, where the upper just ends up being a little bit more simple. They add this extra material in orange for the sake of a little bit of texture on the surface of the upper, as well as providing that additional structure just by having the extra material. But overall, this fit weave material, the hydro knit base at the very least, is thinner than what we had on the previous model and just gives you a little bit more of a pure barefoot feel with slightly less padding. Another big change that nobody's really going to talk about all that much is the internal liner, which maybe is a little bit difficult for me to show you guys, but instead of being a solid microfiber material, it's now a very soft mesh, which means that on the outside, The upper is extremely soft. It's even softer on the inside. Normally, a lot of these knitted uppers are reinforced by some kind of a thin plastic or a thin microfiber, which can still feel good on your feet, but it takes away from the sock-like flexibility and softness of the upper. That is something that I think this knitted upper does better than just about anything else currently on the market. Another change to the upper is the Hydroskin top layer, which if you look at the V6 Pro, you can very clearly see this line kind of on a diagonal through the midfoot, where it just leaves a lot of that hydro knit part of the fit weave base completely exposed on both the lateral and medial side. I know a lot of people didn't like that design element of the V6 Pro, and they've changed that on the 6 Plus, where the entire knitted portion of the upper up until the heel is covered in that Hydroskin, basically a thin plastic film for the sake of waterproofing the upper a little bit better, as well as just providing some additional grip on the ball. Also, the finishing of the transition from kind of the touch element, the fit weave material, into the knitted material you have towards the heel, where there's some added structure, is just finished off way cleaner. You can see here, it's kind of this ugly seam that just doesn't look all that premium. On the new one, they've done an excellent job of just making the design that much more sleek. Across the top of the foot, you're still gonna find a central lacing system, but it does run a little bit shallower than what you're gonna find on a lot of other speed boots. So it does leave you with some really clean surface area kind of across the top of the forefoot that you wouldn't necessarily have on, say, a pair of Mercurials as an example. I guess it kind of relates slightly closer to something like what you get from the X-Ghosted Point 1 as an example, but in general, this aspect of the boot doesn't really feel that different, but you can see that they have changed the lacing setup ever so slightly, where it still uses a dual lace hole setup pretty much all the way through, but instead of having this kind of floating top lace hole position that I don't really think adds anything to the design, they've incorporated it all together as one piece of the boot, which kind of, again, relates it a little bit more closely to something like a Mercurial, and I think just has a cleaner overall feel. Not to mention the actual knitted material they've used here, all elasticated, of course. It's just finished much cleaner and overall feels significantly better quality than what we had before. Moving to the rear, you're gonna find the same low-cut construction as the Furon V6 Pro, but you can see they have modified the knitted edge, which I'm really impressed with. Look at the quality on the inside, that little pattern, the detail, the sharpness of the line. This is something that Nike really popularized with their low-cut models. They do it on the Tiempo, the low-cut Phantom GT, and of course the Vapor. But I think this is done in such a way that is honestly better than Nike has ever accomplished on any of their top-end boots. So I really like the way they've done that, even though it's not something that impacts performance in any way at all. You have an internal plastic heel counter. I still think the back of the boot is a little bit higher than it should be. For most people, it's not something that you're going to notice at all. I'm just kind of nitpicking at this point. The heel liner is this really soft microfiber material, plenty of padding back there, so comfort as well as heel lockdown is really good as well. And then the insole, I really like this as a feature. This is something that New Balance does. It's called InfiniGrip. So you can see the surface liner is still a mesh, but it has this very soft kind of silicone texture to it that does legitimately grip your socks at least a little bit better than a normal mesh liner would. And then it's just made from a single layer of black foam, which is pretty straightforward for a lot of top-end speed boots. Moving to the base, they have not changed a thing, and they really didn't need to. The nylon sole plate is phenomenal in terms of giving you a nice solid base, but still maintaining some decent flexibility. There is somewhat of a springback effect from this, but it's definitely not as responsive feeling as something like a Mercurial or certainly an X-Ghosted model with that Carbitex insert. And then the stud pattern, this being the FG version, is all chevron bladed studs. It's a little bit of a Mercurial copy. There's no way around that fact, but in terms of outright grip, it's phenomenal. If you're looking for very aggressive traction, this is pretty well as aggressive as it gets. And then there's the weight, where again, I think New Balance have done something really impressive with the Furon 6 Plus. In a size 9.5 US, you can see that they weigh in at 6.5 ounces, the equivalent of 184 grams, which is a smidge lighter than the outgoing V6 Pro by like a couple grams. But if we're comparing this to its competition in the speed category, it's lighter than the elite models of Mercurial Vapor or Superfly. It's lighter than the top-end models of X-Ghosted Plus and Point 1. The only flagship model in the speed category that's a little bit lighter than this is the Puma Ultra, but not by much. Overall, I would say if you're looking for a super lightweight feel from your football boots, these are an excellent option. I think if you're looking for a super lightweight feel from something that is soft and comfortable on your feet, this might be the best option. On feet, if you had the V6 Pro, I think you'll definitely notice a difference with the Furon 6 Plus, but I don't think that it's a gigantic change. If anything, the upper is a little bit thinner. It feels more flexible because of the mesh-based liner that just has a little bit less structure to it. From a responsiveness standpoint, it doesn't seem like they've given anything up with the new liner and the slightly thinner knit base that the boot has. And then the overall shape of the boot, and I'm not sure if it's actually changed, but it seems to be a little bit more streamlined in terms of how it wraps your foot. And that might be simply down to the way that they've done the transition from the fit weave to the mesh material that you have towards the back, as well as the lacing system and area across the top of the foot. In general, the boot just seems to fit closer to your feet versus the older model. They've taken out a little bit of volume, but in terms of out-of-the-box comfort, they feel phenomenal. This fit weave upper is incredibly soft and flexible, and the boots are extra comfortable when paired with some Pure Grip socks, which I'm wearing here in black. For those that don't know, this is my own brand of grip socks. They're available in a wide variety of colors for the very affordable price of just $14.99 a pair. If you're interested in trying some out for yourself, the website to visit is puregripsocks.com, which of course will be linked down below in the description. As far as how these fit in terms of width, of course, New Balance is pretty much the only brand doing a wide fit and regular fit variation of their boots. This is the regular fit version that I'm wearing, and they definitely have some decent width to them. I am slightly flat-footed, although the width of my feet is relatively average, and these feel really good. I definitely would not need to go up to the wide fit version, but while I haven't tried the wide fit version of this specific boot, I have tried it on other New Balance models, and it tends to be quite significantly wider. So if you have really wide feet, go for the wide fit version. Otherwise, most people are probably going to be good with the regular model that has some decent width to it. And then as far as the sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order some for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. My conclusion is quite simple. Regardless of what your opinion is of the New Balance brand, or whether or not you would ever be interested in purchasing a pair of New Balance football boots, there is no denying that at this point in time, at least if we're talking about the Furon model, because I think the Tequila at this point is a little bit of a disaster, this is as good as just about any top-end football boot on the market. Is the $210 retail price too expensive? I think for the vast majority of people, they're gonna look at the price of these and just say, why wouldn't I buy a Puma, Nike, or Adidas product instead? Especially the Puma Ultra retailing for $10 less than these. That, I think, probably hurts this as a value proposition. But if you can get past the fact that it's a New Balance football boot, I think what you're getting for your money is honestly really good. It's comfortable. It is extremely sock-like. It's lightweight, it's responsive, it has really aggressive traction. It does everything that you would want a top-of-the-line modern speed boot to do. It just isn't made by one of the more popular brands.